What is going on, freedom fighters? Welcome back to another episode of Break the Chains Media. Today is Tyranny Response Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. And boy, we've got some pretty good news going over today. I mean, it's not the best news, but, you know, there are some workings that are going behind the scenes. They're happening around this state and around this country, but I'll take a win when I can get one, and we just got a pretty good one. I would say, like, if we wanted to compare it to like baseball terms, we got a nice double play, right? We got a pretty good double play. Didn't get a home run, didn't get a triple, but it definitely got us somewhere. But we need to see some real action coming out of this. SCOTUS rules on the Trump mail-in ballot election EO that there are some things that they are allowed to do, but there are also some things that they're not quite able to do just yet, not without grievances or not without states being actually a victim of said malfeasance, whatever the case may be. But we're going to get into all of that, and boy, we also got to get into some of these amazing and just you love to see it, these responses from these Democrats, right? The responses from Amanda Gonzalez, the county clerk in Jefferson County, and Jenna Griswold and Phil Weiser. You're seeing all of these reactions from the typical talking points that they always have, right? Trump, this is unconstitutional, this is illegal, Donald Trump and the MAGA movement can't do this, they just can't do this. This is an abomination against our democracy. Well, folks, it just really that level of energy just really amps me up, because I love seeing them writhe and wriggle and just squirm in all of their different ways that we know that they manipulate, orchestrate, and operate their preferred voter rolls, their preferred election results. So we're going to get into all that here on this live stream on Break the Chains Media. Thank you for coming in and checking out the live stream. Curveball, shout out to Curveball, my guy. We're crushing it. Appreciate you being here. And anyone else, if this is the first time joining Break the Chains Media, we do all things Colorado politics, Colorado news, culture, information, mainly focusing in Colorado, but we do cover national and larger news as well. The zeitgeist, if you will, the ethos of the conversation. We make sure that we are breaking the chains of your conformity, from your normalcy, from your mainstream media addiction. We got to break them chains, folks, and that's why you all are here. So thank you for being here. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, basically any and all social media platforms. But if you're having a hard time, go over to the website, breakthechains.media. That is the website. That is the landing page. Up in the top right corner, you can pick up a bottle of Realm Walker hot sauce. Support the channel, support the work we do. Right now, bottles are back. They are backlogged right now. We are working on getting some more bottles for you all, but you can check out all your flavors here. You got the mild ones, you got the medium heat ones, and then you got the hot ones. It kind of goes mild, medium, hot, all the way down the line. Travel the 9 realms of Norse mythology through hot sauce. Each one is named after one of the 9 realms. You got Jotunheim, you got Helheim, you got Muspelheim. You got all these different flavors. Muspelheim is one of my favorites. Red super hot peppers and roasted red peppers. It's fiery, it's red, it's ripe, it's bright, it makes you sweat. It's a nice hot one. But that is how you support Break the Chains Media, by picking up a bottle of hot sauce. Otherwise, just support the work I do. Share this video. Getting this information out to more people to have these conversations about Colorado politics and cultural news and political news, and having these conversations is what really makes it happen here. So share this video, share the short videos, find me on all the socials. You know what to do. But without further ado, we are jumping right into it. You got Phil Weiser, the weasel, whiny weasel Weiser, always coming in, always barking about Donald Trump, always throwing, I think he's on like lawsuit number like 78 right now. I guarantee you this dude is going to get to 100 lawsuits before the end of the year. You watch. That's probably, It's not out of the question that this dude is just going to keep dropping lawsuits against the Donald Trump administration. It's absolutely ridiculous at this point. But I just wanted to show you this video because I made this a couple months back, but it still just rings true today.
I'm the carpetbagger Phil Whiny Weasel Weiser. I have a severe case of stage 5 TDS. As Colorado's governor, you can guarantee more lawsuits, more crime, more homelessness. I'm the carpetbagger Phil Whiny Weasel Weiser. I have a severe case of stage 5 TDS. As Colorado's governor, you can guarantee more lawsuits, more crime, more homelessness.
Honestly, though, like, where is the lie? Where is the lie when we're talking about this? Because this is Phyllis Weasel Weiser's political stance. Just attacking people, sending, it's all lawfare, making sure that the homeless people keep getting their end of the bargain. We want to make sure that there's drugs on the streets. This is the whole whiny Weasel Weiser's agenda. But I just wanted to show you that because that was hilarious and funny. But yeah, we're going to go back into the stream here because I wanted to get his actual response. Because see, here's the thing, folks, and this is what I do. I take screenshots of these people. I mean, sometimes I retweet, especially if it's Governor Polis. Sometimes I will retweet what they say, but it's always good just to screen grab it. That way you have it for posterity. It's not going to go anywhere, and you can hear what they have to say, and you can just see and just do a full analysis on your own time, on your own accord, on your own page, right? So this is what Phil Weiser said regarding the Supreme Court decision, right? Let's check it out. Phil Weiser says, the Supreme Court decision today threatens to allow mischief and uncertainty in our elections. We will continue to protect Colorado's gold standard mail-in balloting system, and that means we will be back in court challenging this unconstitutional action. Oh, you don't say. Tell me something we don't know, Phil. Of course you're going to put out another lawsuit. Of course you're going to challenge this in court. Here's the thing that I don't understand where the disconnect is with some of these Democrats. Why is it unconstitutional to make sure that states are running with clean voter rolls? Where is it that is unconstitutional, illegal to actually say, you know what, we've got to make sure every legal citizen has a right to vote and those who are in this state illegally do not vote? Why is that so hard for these Democrats to understand? Now, of course, we know why. We understand why they get all wrapped up in a tizzy because they can't have their universal mail-in ballot and ease of access to voting. And oh my gosh, if people can't vote from an underwater sea bunker in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on a Thursday afternoon, if we can't have these people voting in the most ridiculous and obscene situations ever, then their vote is being silenced. Everyone has a right to vote. Folks, this is the problem, right? This is what here's a hot take for you. Pretty sure that we need to really just completely restrict voting. The reason that our country has fallen so far in so short of time is because stupid people are voting. The ease of access and the accessibility for voting, not just is it that we get idiots voting in elections, but we get people who shouldn't even be voting in elections, right? I truly believe that we need to have some sort of civics test, some sort of, I don't want to say an IQ test because IQ tests aren't really efficient metrics to gauge voter knowledge. But I think we definitely need to have some sort of civics understanding of how government operates. There should be, let's put it this way. You should be a net. I think if you own a business or if you own a home or if you are, I don't want to base it on money. I don't know. What are your thoughts? You let me know in the comments. What do you think is a good metric that should restrict people from voting? Because this is the real problem. This is how we've gotten here. We got too many stupid people. We got too many the volume of voters has gone down, or excuse me, The volume of voters has gone up drastically, but the quality of voters has gone down substantially. So, with that being said, Exhibit A, we get people like Phil Weiser running for governor of Colorado, and we get like number 78 or 79th lawsuit, right? This is the level of ridiculousness that we're dealing with right now. Statement from Phil Weiser. We're 71 days from election, and the Supreme Court is giving too wide a berth to an administration that clearly intends to engage in electoral mischief and block citizens' freedom to vote. This is no time to create chaos and uncertainty with unconstitutional election rules. Colorado relies on mail-in ballots, and I will use every legal tool I have to prevent the federal government from implementing any unlawful action arising from the president's unconstitutional executive order. Okay? This is it, folks. This is what we're dealing with. It's not unconstitutional to make sure that the people are required to, the people that are going to vote are the ones that are supposed to vote. And let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, right? This is from Peter Bernegger. U.S. Supreme Court 37-page ruling on President Trump's executive order pertaining to mail-in ballots and more. What is now permitted? Now, I will say, definitely follow, give a shout out to Peter Bernegger. He is he does a lot of good work regarding election stuff. If you are on X, shout out, give him a follow. But he really breaks it down simply, and it makes it understandable for people that might not know all of the legal jargon and the jumbo that happens with these rulings, right? So, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled a 37-page ruling on President Trump's executive order pertaining to mail-in ballots. Says that, it stays the Massachusetts injunction while the appeal continues. And the Massachusetts injunction is the, I believe that is the barcode, something to do with barcodes or something to actually do with the retaining or the handling of the mail-in votes, the mail-in ballots. But this is the big one. The DHS can proceed to compile and send the state citizenship lists. So you basically have to follow. The DHS is allowed to proceed with the state citizenship matching up with the state records in the voter rolls. The DOJ may prioritize enforcement of existing federal election laws. That's a huge one. So when the DOJ can prioritize enforcement of election laws, right? We're talking about HAVA. We're talking about the Help America Vote Act. And we're also talking about the NVRA, the the Voter Rights Act. Both of these are very clear on what we need to do and how we need to effectively approach elections. And these were passed decades ago. I think the NVRA was passed in like 93, right? But HAVA and the NVRA are very key in keeping clean voter rolls, right? We need to have clean voter rolls, and secondary to that, we need to get rid of mail-in ballots. That's a whole nother conversation. But this does affect how the mail-in ballot process will take place, right? Today's ruling removes this case bar on USPS rulemaking, but a separate nationwide injunction still blocks Section 3 for the November election. That's what I was talking about earlier. So the USPS rulemaking, basically Trump was trying to make sure that the United States Postal Service wouldn't be handing out the ballots or being the vehicle in which the ballots were being transferred, right? Transported, right? Trump was trying to use the U.S. Postal Service as the means to block this movement of the mail-in ballots. Now, I have heard through the grapevine that Colorado, if there was an issue with the United States Postal Service using or not being able to, if there was an issue with the USPS not being able to transport the mail-in ballots, I have heard through the grapevine that the Secretary of State and the county clerks were thinking about using FedEx or UPS to ship through these mail-in ballots. Now, I don't know how credible or verifiable that is. That is just something that I've heard through some associates that I'm aware of, that I know of. It's not official yet, but if that were to take place, I mean, isn't that not like the most illegal thing you could think of? A non-government entity, a non-government official operating on an official federal election proceeding or a procedure, right? Being just think about this for a second. The scope of Federal Express, FedEx, the scope of FedEx or UPS being the transporters of mail-in ballots is outstandingly illegal, in my opinion. You know, I'm no scholar, but I would like to think that a private mail carrying company would not be able to legally permit handling of millions of votes and millions of mail-in ballots in Colorado. I would consider that highly suspect and highly illegal if the Colorado Secretary of State and the county clerks decide to go that route, if they have to. Hopefully they don't, but I mean, like, wow, how crazy would that be? Peter Bernegger continues on with this. What is not permitted, at least not yet, at this current moment, regarding this SCOTUS ruling with this election EO? The states need not use the citizenships lists, so they aren't required to use the citizenship lists at this time. The order does not authorize prosecution merely for refusing to use them. The ruling does not authorize automatic voter removal based on a federal list. So there's no requirement of like voter roll cleanup or anything like that through this executive order. SCOTUS did not hold the order constitutional or lawful. So that's a big one. That is interesting, right? These are all like the negatives of like how the ruling actually played out, right? United States Postal Service, USPS, cannot currently reject or withhold November 3rd ballots under Section 3. The separate August 11th nationwide injunction continues to prohibit USPS from implementing Section 3 for the November 3rd election, including refusing to transmit mail ballots or enforcing the contemplated ballot envelope and voter list requirements. It's basically saying that like the United States USPS is not being restricted to transmit the mail-in ballots. No new barcode for federal voter list mandate is enforceable for November 3rd implementation. So all of this still remains challengeable as well. So there's a lot that's still taking place with this mail-in ballot executive order. So like I said in the beginning of this live stream, it's not a home run. It's definitely a double play. It's definitely some good groundwork moving forward. But I do think the Supreme Court ruling is not the win that a lot of people think it is. It's not this everything's going to be shut down and everything's like, you know, getting upended and we're going to see Griswold take a walk. I don't think that is the case. I do think that there's definitely some more legal things that have to happen in very short order. Otherwise, yes, the election will continue to be conveniently operated in the current Democratic favor of Griswold and Weiser, and the likes of which regarding mail-in ballots and their whole shenanigans, their whole scheming tactics, right? I do think that this is too little too late, and it's not even the kind of win that we should be expecting. We should be hoping. Like for all my gun tubers, for all my 2A enthusiasts, this is like getting an injunction, right? It's like okay, like, I guess we kind of get a win, but the law is still on the books and everything's still going through the courts, and it's all there's still processes to be taking place, and the institution of the current election process here in Colorado is still going to continue to play out, right? That's really where we're at right now. What is going on, Salty Grower? Hello. Kiwi Eric, I see you in here. What's going on, guys? Seems that this one's from Kiwi Eric. I'm going to pause this here. Seems Dems consider anything unconstitutional that gets in the way of them securing power in perpetuity. If we had an honest election in Colorado, I believe they would have taken over the state as they have. Right. They would not have taken the state over as they have. Absolutely. And this is what it really comes down to, folks. And we're taking this in. We're sitting with this for a moment, because this is a key point that Kiwi Eric brings up, is that we would not be in the position that we are in right now if it was not for the corrupt Secretary of State and this long game that the Democrats have been playing in Colorado, right? The long game, right? This is what we're dealing with here in Colorado. The Democrats, for over almost 2 decades, right? 2013, since 2005, mid-2000, 2008, right? That's really when the Democrat push came into Colorado. Hold on, I had a phone call. Who called me at this hour? Oh, Chris called me. Whatever, it's all good. I'm coming back hot, right? Here's the big takeaway, folks. We would not be in the position we are in right now if it wasn't for the Colorado Secretary of State and this election apparatus that's been taking hold in this country, in this state, particularly when it comes to mail-in balloting. And they lean heavily on mail-in ballots. The Democrats lean heavy into mail-in ballots and dirty voter rolls because it works twofold. Both independently are bad in their own right, but combine them together and it creates a system and it creates a mechanism that allows for fudging of numbers or pushing a couple points here and there, whether it be precincts, whether it be districts, whether it be counties. They can skew and manipulate election results to whatever benefit that they want, and then it all goes through their electronic voting machines and their tabulation data, right? This is how they institutionalize and they orchestrate their takeover state by state. We've seen it in California. We see it in Colorado. We see it in Illinois. We see it in Massachusetts, New York, Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all these different states, right? It's very interesting. And sure, we do have a lot of like liberal, mentally deranged we do have a lot of deranged, mentally ill liberals living in the state. Yes, I understand that. I would not say to the tune of that we actually see when it comes to these election results. I do believe Colorado is a lot redder than people think it is. However, we cannot discredit the fact that a lot of people have been disenfranchised in Colorado, and a lot of people that were conservatives have now moved out of this state into more conservative states. So we are seeing this year-over-year migratory transit of liberals moving into blue states and conservatives moving out of states, and vice versa. So there is this flux that's in play. So I am not naive to think that there is a changing demographics. However, it still comes back to the fact of these election systems are orchestrated and manipulated through the Secretary of State, through their county clerks, through the way they tabulate the votes, all of their administrative staff. They all work together, and then they consolidate and control power, right? And this is what we're calling out right now. This is what Donald Trump's trying to call out right now. This is what this election executive order is trying to call out, because there is so many ways, there are so many steps in the process of not only mail-in voting, but just having dirty voter data, dirty voter rolls in general. These go hand in hand, and they allow for a voter base to be disenfranchised from voting and to have a institutionalized, structured system that can manipulate and control how the votes are being counted, right? Yeah, no, I can keep ranting on this, but I do want to show you the from Jenna Griswold, right? We do have her response. Breaking news. Press release from the Secretary of State Jenna Griswold's office, right here, right? But and then we are going to get to this, and then this is that is that, right? Let's read this here, just so we get a better bead on it. If you're not aware, if you're not understanding yet, do we all understand what really came out of this Supreme Court executive order, right? This is from CNBC.com. Supreme Court allows some The Supreme Court allows some vote by mail limits ahead of midterm elections. The Supreme Court on Monday allowed the Trump administration to move forward for now with key parts of President Donald Trump's executive order targeting mail-in voting. The unsigned order lifted a lower court's injunction covering 23 states and Washington, D.C. The court's 3 liberal justices dissented. Of course they did, right? A separate nationwide injunction still blocks the Postal Service from implementing its new mail-in ballot procedures for the November 3rd election. That's what the Peter Bernegger aspect of our stream was talking about, is that the nationwide injunction is still blocking the USPS from implementing its new mail-in ballot procedures. So it's not going to happen this election cycle. It might happen on another election cycle. This is all very slow rolling, folks, but the 3 dissenting justices, said it's not, they said what they normally do, right? They bitch and complain, right? I wonder how many words Ketanji Brown Jackson, rattled off while Alito and Clarence Thomas were just like, no. The justices stressed that they were not deciding whether Trump's order or the policies developed under it are ultimately legal. They were not debating whether it was legal or not. They were basically saying whether Trump could do it or not. What does that even mean? How does that even break down? The majority said that Trump's executive order itself does not require states to change how they conduct elections. Instead, it directs federal agencies to develop policies that could later impose requirements on states. See, this is what it really comes down to. I think I've said this on my live streams many times in the past, that I do believe that there should be a sweeping level of a degree of federalism when it comes to the competency and the process in which our elections are operating, right? A consistent baseline on a federal level of here's the expectations of how our elections are supposed to work. This is all across all 50 states. This is the process in which elections are done. And the states can operate it however, wherever they want or whatever times they want. Like, because everyone always reverts back to the Constitution. Oh, the time, place, and manner, right? Times, place, and manner, right? The manner of the election, right? So this is how the states are getting away with mail-in ballots, right? The manner in which elections are done. So we can have 2.5 months of mail-in ballots, and then we can count those ballots for another month after the election. So that way the states can basically operate however they want, whatever election results they want by any aspect. I don't think that's very fair. If one state does it one way and another state does it another way, maybe you guys can do that for your state elections, but when it comes to federal elections, there should be a federal requirement, right? The court's disposition of this application does not mean that any measure taken by the government to implement the order will necessarily be lawful, the majority wrote. On that score, time will tell. What does that mean? What amorphous term is that? Time will tell. I think what's going to happen is that come election cycle, come the election, right, you're going to see some aggrieved parties, right? Some states or some counties or some sort of lawsuits will bubble up from this, and then they will be an aggrieved party. They will say that my vote was not calculated the right way, my vote was silenced, or however they want to frame this argument, and then they're going to say that they now have legal standing, right? We need to have legal standing so that way they can actually prosecute this further and actually make it a lawful or unlawful ruling. That's how I see it. That's how I take it. But let's get into the fun part. Let's get into the funny part here. I got this video here, and then let's read into Jenna Griswold's little rant here really quick. But I'm gonna back up here. We're gonna roll up. Oh, that's all I have. I guess that's all I have. Oh, I do have this video. So I posted. I really quickly. I'm not gonna show this whole video on the stream. You guys can watch this on. I posted this on Instagram and I posted it on X, obviously. But this is a great breakdown of a back and forth of me ranting and breaking down some of Jenna Griswold's most ridiculous claims regarding Trump and the DOJ and their efforts to silence the vote and efforts to intimidate voters. Let's just watch the first few seconds.
Voters should know that Democratic secretaries of state and people of good faith all across the country are working hard to safeguard the election.
Ah, yes, Jenna Griswold and her classic safeguarding the elections. Well, anyone in Colorado knows exactly what she's talking about.
It is illegal in Colorado and across the nation to intimidate voters. It is illegal for federal law enforcement to interfere with the vote.
It is not illegal for the federal government to make sure that non-citizens are not participating in elections. That's not intimidation. Unless, of course, Jenna, you are speaking directly to these non-citizens that are living in Colorado and across the country. Yeah, so you can it's another a minute and a half, not that long, but I would suggest checking it out. I think it's a great post because I not only break down that, but I also break down just the larger ramifications and how we've gotten here, right? How have we gotten here? That's the biggest problem, right? But yeah, go check that out on my Instagram or on my X. But let's get into the response from Jenna Griswold. Press release. Breaking news. Secretary of State Jenna Griswold. News release. Injunction of Trump's major mail ballot executive order reversed following SCOTUS determination. Denver, August 2020. Wow, let me slow down. Denver, August 24th, 2026. The United States Supreme Court has granted a stay of federal injunction blocking major portions of President Trump's executive order on mail-in ballots in a 6-3 decision along party lines. Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold has issued the following statement. I am not going to speak like Jenna Griswold, but I'm going to read it as disgusting and repulsively as I can. I am disappointed that the Supreme Court's conservative majority did not stop the Trump administration's attempt to exert federal control over the state-run elections. Make no mistake, when the federal government attempts to implement this unlawful executive order, Colorado and other states across the country will fight back. It's not the end of this fight. Americans will have their voices heard in the 2026 midterm elections. The Supreme Court's decision was specific to whether the lower court's determination was premature. The decision allows for the Department of Homeland Security to proceed in their implementation of the president's directives to provide information to the states regarding who they believe is eligible to vote. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Federal government says, hey, we got a list here saying these are the people that should be participating in the elections. And if you have people that aren't on this list, that are participating in the elections, you got two options. You either prove that they can or make sure that they don't. It's pretty simple, right? The decision also stays the injunction preventing postal services from finalizing rulemaking to implement the president's executive order in 23 states and District of Columbia. However, a state court ruling on August 11th in the U.S. District Court of Massachusetts enjoining the postal service's rulemaking nationwide remains intact. Additionally, in lifting this injunction, the Supreme Court has allowed the Department of Justice to follow the president's directive to prioritize the prosecution of election officials who send ballots to individuals who are not on the list provided by the Department of Homeland Security. Folks, I think that is the biggest win we can get out of this injunction, because that is the biggest thing. We need to hold these people accountable. We need to make sure that the DOJ has the authority to prosecute any election official who sends ballots to individuals who are not eligible to vote. That's the real meat and potatoes of this takeaway, right? If we got election officials like Jenna Griswold, Secretary of State, she's the head honcho. If we got county clerks like Amanda Gonzalez or other individuals across this state and across this country that are giving people the right to vote when they should not be voting, these people that are allowing non-citizens and illegals to vote in our elections should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, up until jail and prison sentences, fines, you name it. If not worse, maybe 10 feet of rope. I don't know. I said it. Just a thought. But these people need to be held accountable through the most rigorous and legally lawful attempts that we can make, right? That's what I'm saying. On August 20th, the United States Postal Service published a final rule related to the Trump executive order in question. Executive Order 14399, noting that that would be the immediate effect after publication on August 26th, after all injunctions were lifted. There are currently 71 days until the midterm elections. Executive Order 14399 is the second executive order issued directly related to election administration during Trump's second term. The president's first executive order on the issued during his second term, which sought to change voter registration requirements, has been largely enjoined. Folks, this is a good move. This is a good step forward. We got to hold them to the fire, though. We got to make sure that something actually comes out of this. That's really what we need to make sure of. Now, let's take a look at this here. We're gonna round out this this live stream with this video here. Just a few minutes to go, and we will be sending you off on your way here. But let's take a listen here, because this is from Denver 7, and we're gonna break down this video of their break. We're gonna break down their breakdown while we get some analysis from some of these other election officials, including the Red Flame of Liberty, James Wiley. Shout out James Wiley. If you don't know about James Wiley, definitely go support him. Check him out. He needs all the help he can get. He is running for Secretary of State in Colorado, and we got to make sure that we get him in office. Let's actually, I'm going to do this really quick, because he deserves it. Because who else? We need someone that actually can stand up and do the right thing in the Secretary of State's office. And it's James Wiley, right? Right? We need James Wiley to show up, get involved, and be the real Secretary of State that we need. Like, you know, who else is running? Who's his opponent, right? Amanda Gonzalez, who we're about to hear from. Amanda Gonzalez is the Democrat nominee for Secretary of State. James Wiley is the Republican nominee for Secretary of State. He believes in hand counts, mail-in ballots need to go bye-bye. We need to clean up the voter rolls. We need to be in person, paper ballots, all of the things that are going to ensure a safer and better election process in Colorado. James Wiley standing for it. So shout out to WileyForColorado.com. Go check out the website. James Wiley, check out that website, WileyForColorado.com. But we are jumping over to this video really quick, because that was just a spur of the moment thing. But let's check it out.
A bombshell ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court today has opened a path for possible implementation of President Trump's restrictions on mail-in voting. I'm glad you're with us tonight. I'm Shannon Ogden, and we have a lot to get to. So the High Court ruled 6-3 to temporarily lift a federal injunction which had blocked a key part of the president's executive order on mail-in ballots. So this ruling now allows parts of the order to move forward while the legal challenges continue. Denver 7's Maggie Bryan in the studio tonight with some clarity on just what this could mean for the midterms. Maggie?
Shannon, I've talked with several
too much talking heads.
ahead of the uncertain.
I want to hear
ahead of the midterms.
Yeah.
With midterm elections coming up in November, questions are growing over access to mail-in voting, the method used by more than 98% of Colorado voters last election.
It does add in a dose of uncertainty.
On Monday, the U.S. Supreme Court sided with the Trump administration in a 6-3 vote, saying it's too early for states to challenge the president's executive order on mail-in voting. The executive order signed in March directs federal agencies to create a list of all eligible voters using citizenship and social security records to keep non-citizens from voting in U.S. elections. The executive order says the U.S. Postal Service would only be able to deliver mail ballots to people on those lists.
Trump basically is trying to take control over who gets a mail ballot, who doesn't.
Secretary of State Jenna Griswold says Colorado's mail-in voting process is safe and secure.
There is no evidence that there is any kind of widespread
vote. Create a list of all eligible voters using citizenship and social security records to 6-3
I want to hear this.
Saying it's too.
This is an important takeaway because it all comes back down to making sure the right people are participating, right?
Too early for states to challenge the president's executive order on mail-in voting. The executive order signed in March directs federal agencies to create a list of all eligible voters using citizenship and social security records to keep non-citizens from voting in U.S. elections. The executive order says the U.S. Postal Service would only be able to deliver mail ballots to people on those lists.
Trump basically is trying to take control over who gets a mail ballot, who doesn't.
Secretary of State Jenna Griswold says Colorado's mail-in voting process is safe and secure.
Okay, I gotta chime in because obviously she says this every time. It's safe and secure, and everyone uses mail-in ballots, and everything's great, and everything's amazing, and nothing's ever wrong ever because we're just the gold standard. We're perfect. Everything's perfect, and there's nothing ever to look bad about. Nothing against my. I didn't have harassment campaigns against my staffers. I didn't send out 30,000 illegal mailers to non-citizens. I didn't spend $26,000 on campaign coordination. Consulting fees. I didn't limit the scope of external audits and only limit them to internal Secretary of State audits if I were talking about voter record requests. I didn't falsely frame Tina Peters. Everything is perfect, right? That's Jenna Griswold, right? That's Jenna Griswold.
There is no evidence that there is any kind of widespread voter fraud.
Jefferson County Clerk and Recorder Amanda Gonzalez, who is running for Secretary of State, says Trump's executive order could keep eligible voters from getting a ballot if federal voter data is wrong or outdated.
They are talking.
Do you understand how badly this is literally? Oh my gosh. It's literally projection on the highest level. Did you not hear that? Let's go back 10 seconds.
Executive order could keep eligible voters from getting a ballot if federal voter data is wrong or outdated.
They are talking about bringing together data, much of it never intended for identifying voters, from different sources that there is no way to verify the accuracy of.
Monday.
Yeah, so that was Amanda Gonzalez. She was basically breaking down that we have the federal government has outdated data, and it's not going to accurately depict the vote, those who are registered to vote. Says the people keeping the dirty voter rolls. Says the people that as of last time, listen, Judicial Watch had to sue the state of Colorado and several other states just so they started to clean up their dirty voter rolls. Just so they were allowed, just so they began to make sure that mail-in ballots didn't get out into the public into wrong people's hands, or duplicate ballots, or people that no longer lived in the state weren't being mailed out. That still happens to this day in Colorado. So Amanda Gonzalez is going out here saying that the federal data is inaccurate. Meanwhile, every single state example has shown again and again that their voter data, their voter rolls are wildly inaccurate. They have dead people on the voter rolls. They have illegals on the voter rolls. They have people that don't even live in the state still on the voter rolls. This is complete projection from Amanda Gonzalez.
Supreme Court ruling temporarily allows the Trump administration to move forward with parts of the executive order while other legal fights continue. But justices did not rule on whether Trump's mail voting executive order is legal or constitutional.
As of right now, nothing is changing for the November 2026 election. You will still be mailed your ballot.
Supporters of mail-in voting reform, including James Wiley, the Republican candidate for Secretary of State, welcome the justice's decision as a temporary win.
I think it's really important that we work to increase security with the voter rolls as much as possible, and then make sure to restore trust with the mail-in voting.
While some Colorado election officials say it only creates more confusion ahead of November's election.
This is not the end of the fight. The Constitution is clear. States run elections.
All right, Maggie Bryan in the studio tonight. So obviously so many questions.
Creates kind of an avenue to implement the president's executive order restricting mail-in voting, but
I don't really want to hear all this, but I did want
to mail in their ballots in last.
Yeah, so I wanted to address this.
Certainly appreciate it. I want to take a closer look at Colorado's mail-in.
So this is lying. I don't want to say it's actually lying by omission, but it's deceptive media practice, right? When you look at this video here, we're about to break it down, but this is not giving you the entire amount of information that you need to make a reasonable conclusion to. So let's take a listen. Let's see if you guys can pick it up just like I picked it up, but take a listen to what they have to say about the percentages and who actually uses mail-in ballots. Let's take a listen.
Voting numbers. Data from the Secretary of State's office show an overwhelming majority of voters choose to mail in their ballots in the last vote we had here in the primary. Now, mail ballots accounted for nearly 99% of accepted ballots during the 2026 primary. That's about 1.4 million ballots, fewer than 25,000 voted in person. And going in depth here, just back in April, I spoke with our Attorney General, Phil Weiser, about Trump's executive order, and Weiser told me it is clearly illegal.
This is another illegal action by this administration. My job in the face of illegal actions that harm us is to stand up for the rule of law and to protect Colorado. The Constitution is very clear. States set the time, place, and manner of our elections.
Now, today's Supreme Court decision allows key parts of Trump's executive order to proceed, as we said, as lawsuits, including the one filed by Colorado, play out. And despite calls to eliminate most mail voting, President Trump voted by mail last week in Florida.
Okay, so with that being said, did you catch it? Did you catch it, folks? Because this little rat bag, this little whiny Phyllis Weasel Weiser, right, keeps framing the narrative, right? The time, place, and manner, right? Okay, well, folks, the time, place, and manner is as follows. Let me show you this, okay? Here's some data for you. Says it right here. Based on our last election, the primary election results. Mind you, it was the primary election results. They're counting 1.4 million accepted ballots. Do you know how many people in Colorado actually vote? Do you know how many people in Colorado are actually registered to vote? We've got over 4 million registered voters in Colorado. Okay? So we have 4 million registered voters in Colorado, but 1.4 million people chose to mail in their ballot compared to 25,000. Okay? Now, that being said, they skew the numbers. These numbers are deceptive because it shows you, oh, look, 98% of people chose mail-in ballots from the people who voted. What about the 75% of the people who didn't vote? What about a majority of Colorado residents who did not choose to vote because they believe that the elections themselves are completely bunk and bogus. Just because you have a majority of the minority that actually participate in your mail-in ballot shenanigans, not to mention most of the people that use mail-in ballots, they can of course mail them in, but everyone that I know will fill out the ballot and walk in and drop it off at the polling location. So it operates like a physical ballot in itself. So they're not actually mailing in the ballot. A majority of these people don't mail in the ballots. However, point still remains. The chain of custody and the mail-in ballot process allows for vulnerabilities. And this is the biggest argument in opposition to allowing universal mail-in ballots, is the chain of custody and how do we know that these people are actually who they say they are, who are voting and filling out these mail-in ballots? How can we confirm that this person's ballot went to that person's hand? Making sure that they signed it. Okay, we verified the signature. Great. You got prime examples in California where you can literally draw a smiley face with a scribble and it counts as a signature. You can doodle a picture of your dog as a picture and consider that a signature. So the ways and the laws in which that have been put in place by these corrupt individuals operating our elections are the reason why the state is so broken. The laws are so flawed. The system is designed this way. It's not a bug, it's a feature. And Colorado's mail-in ballots, along with other blue states' mail-in ballots, are designed to be fungible, are designed to be manipulated. This is the end goal, right? This is what they want, and this is what Trump's executive order is directly trying to defend against. We want to make sure that the people that are voting are who they say they are and are valid, real residents, citizens of the United States, and that's what we're going to make sure of. And the blue states and the Democrats want to make sure that it's all playing their game, right? It's all part of their show. They want to make sure that their people get to vote and the ease of access becomes more prevalent and apparent for them, right? Time, place, and manner. Phil Weiser, right? What a joke. What an absolute joke. Yeah. Salty grower. Yeah, I mean, and we're preaching to the choir here. We're preaching to the choir, right? Absolutely ridiculous. No, we covered that. We checked that out. Guys, go check out James Wiley. Shane, I'm not even, I know the guy. I respect the guy. And if we want any sort of sanity or semblance back into this country, back into this state, James Wiley's going to be able to get it there. So we got to support the guy who's going to actually stand up and defend what it actually means to have reasonable and secure elections again in Colorado. We got to support Wiley. I mean, if we don't have Wiley, we get another Amanda Gonzalez, like Eric, what was it? Kiwi Eric said. Was it? It's up there somewhere. Or no, Curveball said. Curveball said Amanda Gonzalez will be Griswold 2.0 as Secretary of State. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Salty Grow, I see. Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, Salty Grow, regarding being more based, I do believe he's very articulate and particular on what he wants to say and how he wants to say the things, and I'm sure he would like to say a lot more, but he's trying to run a statewide race, so he's trying to garner as many votes as he can while he can. And I think that, yeah, he has to kind of, even on that interview that we just saw, he said that he wants to encourage people to have faith in their election process. And I think that's a great platform to stand on. We have to re-incentivize our belief in the election process here in Colorado. No, yeah, for sure. Just spread the word. Spread the word. Let's see what we can do for him, right? But without any further ado, I think that is going to be wrapping up our live stream here on Break the Chains Media. I rambled on for far too long. Why is my computer having a brain fart right now? It's fine. my screen just decided to say whatever, fuck you. I did really good. I was trying to not swear all live stream, and then I just let one slip. Whoopsie daisy. It's okay. But let's see if we got anyone who's running on live right now. Let's see. Yeah, let's go over here. Let's go over here, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Let's see who else. Is there anyone else on the live stream that I could check out here? Running live. Who's running live? You guys want to go to a gaming stream? You guys want to go to another? I wish I had. Let's see if I obviously. Let's see who is live. Trying to find someone that has Colorado news. Not really anyone I see right now. Let's go to. Yeah, this'll be good because we're talking about rigged elections. So this will be a good one. Kim Iverson. Yeah, we got Kim Iverson with Dan Blazarian regarding rigged elections, because that's what we're talking about here. So we got to keep the theme rolling, right? So as we should, we gotta represent. So if you haven't yet, smash that thumbs up button, share this video, share the content. Find me on all the socials: X Break the Chains M, Instagram Break the Chains Media, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. I've been there. Appreciate you all being here. Salty Grower, shout out to Salty Grower. Kiwi, Eric, love you. See you soon. We're going to keep this information rolling. Stay tuned because, what is it? Next Friday, not this coming Friday, but in 2 Fridays, your boy's going to go downtown again and say hello to our good friend standing in front of Drip Cafe. So we're going to be getting some more on the ground reporting from the Denver in confrontation with the Denver Communists. So stay tuned for that because we're going to be dropping the hammer on the Denver Commies, if you know what I mean. With my First Amendment rights. It's my First Amendment right to drop hammers. Metaphorical First Amendment hammers, You love it, you see it. Appreciate y'all being here. And as always, fight for freedom and never give up.
A lot of different things. So first of all, as far as are they just doing it because of an opportunistic and a money